Toby Muse reporting from Macoa. The global aid organization Mercy Corps has a team in Macoa. Joining me now via Skype is Provash Budden. He serves as Mercy Corps director in Colombia. So much heartache, as we heard in Toby's piece. Colombia's president, Juan Manuel Santos, said that 30%, that's 30% of the usual monthly rainfall, fell in just a single night. People really didn't stand a chance there, did they?
No, that's right. Unfortunately, there was a heavy amount of rain at this time, unseasonable rain. We're just at the start of the rainy season, and within a period of a day, over a month's rainfall did fall and caused the massive landslides and mudslides that affected Mocoa, devastating hundreds of homes and leaving hundreds of people displaced.
Provash, anytime you see a disaster of this magnitude, time, of course, of the essence, but getting to a location like this is always problematic. Can you give me a sense of some of the issues you're facing to get to these areas and the trouble with finding survivors?
Well, fortunately, Mercy Corps has worked in Mocoa and in Putumayo for nearly 11 years. We know the area very well, and we already have teams on the ground from other programs that we manage there. It is challenging to get into Mocoa. One north side of the road is washed out, but fortunately there's more commercial accessibility from the south side. Our teams are on the ground doing assessments right now to make sure that they can evaluate the needs for clean water, for food, for shelter, but also for psychosocial assistance to many families and individuals that were traumatized by the massive flooding that came through their homes on Friday night.
What are you hearing from your team members in Macoa?
Well, we're hearing that there is still a high level of damage that has affected the whole population, although the government is attending to heavy lifting and clearing roads, and a certain segment of the population that is taking refuge in schools and community shelters. There's still a lot more people that have not found shelter or are trying to stay with families and friends in other homes. We're trying to focus on where the gaps are and coordinating with the local government and the disaster management unit of Colombia. And this is going to be a long process. People are also very worried about another set of mudslides and landslides because, again, this is the beginning of the rainy season and this could happen again. It's not unusual for flooding to take place in Putumayo, but at this scale it is concerning, and we see this also affect the climate change that Colombia suffers in the past few years.
Provash, the El Nino system is really packing a wallop. It's punched not just Colombia with violent weather, we're also seeing this in Brazil and Peru. Talk to me about the overall impact here in the Americas, and how do you bounce back from something like this, and what are your needs and how do you respond?
Well, indeed, climate change is a significant factor in Colombia. What we've been seeing is including drought up in northern portions of Colombia, and then extreme rains and flooding in other areas. Colombia is in the equatorial zone and does suffer from the El Nino effect. But this does mean that as people are trying to get back on their feet and recovering with immediate assistance, it's really important to start planning for the long term. This means looking at the way that housing is put together, city planning, and disaster preparedness for communities that are still vulnerable. Unfortunately, this is going to happen again in Colombia, and Mercy Corps has been working closely with communities and government and other humanitarian organizations to look at the wider spectrum of planning and disaster preparedness for Colombians in the future.
There's also probably another lesson here as well. I mean, you've talked about climate change, El Nino, the triple threat, though, deforestation. Talk to me about that and what can be done to stop that.
Well, fortunately, Colombia is signed on to many environmental treaties and is trying to do the right thing in terms of protecting its forests. However, there's a big gap between political policies and what takes place on the ground. The conflict in Colombia over the past 52 years was actually prevented many logging industries to come in, as well as communities from cutting down forests. But now with an opening up of industry over the peace agreement, there is concern about extensive logging, and it's important to make sure that the Colombian government and its citizens are managing its forests correctly and doing a lot of site mapping and planning around reforestation and protection of forests so that these type of events are mitigated.
Provash Budden joining us from Bogota via Skype. Thanks so much.